Most people have no idea where their calories are coming from. If you think you're eating healthy, but you're struggling to lose weight, most likely you're just eating foods that are higher in calories than you're actually aware of. Like, for example, about 30 years ago, when I first opened up my first personal training gym, I had this like dream client. He was a really successful businessman. I would train him and his wife like 3 times a week. They loved working out. It was such a pleasure to actually train them and be around them. But the problem is that they can never really consistently lose weight and keep the weight off. See, back then, the diet that I was recommending is pretty much the exact opposite of what I recommend now. See, now my favorite diet is a low-carb, whole natural food diet with an adequate amount of protein, and I also love intermittent fasting. Back then, I was recommending almost the exact opposite, but that's what all the research was leading towards back then. All the popular diet books were like Colbert Bailey's book, like The Fit or Fat. He had a whole series of books. These were books talking about how like eating fat makes you fat. You have to go low fat. Also, Dr. Ornish's book, he was claiming that you can reverse coronary heart disease by eating an extremely low fat diet, and then eating multiple meals a day was the way to go. That's going to, boost up your metabolism. So that's the kind of diet that I was eating. Actually, I was into bodybuilding back then, like just a general like bodybuilder back then would eat like a high protein, low fat, high carb type diet. If you want to get cut back then as a bodybuilder, you would just keep on reducing your carbohydrates. You might even go into a state of ketosis for a couple of weeks before a contest and then carb up before the show. But generally that was the most popular and highly recommended diet. Low fat, high carb, carbs were considered, sugar was considered like, free calories, and then an adequate amount of protein. So when it came to helping this couple lose weight, they were telling me they were eating like that. But then one night, he says, Mike, why don't you and your wife come out to dinner with us? He said, we go to this Mexican restaurant like 2-3 times a week in New York City. We love it. He was such an interesting guy. He wanted to buy the restaurant. He wanted to buy this restaurant down the road. He was such an interesting guy, and he had a ton of money that he would walk into a restaurant and like it, and he'd make the owner an offer. I want to buy this place. So you want to actually buy this Mexican restaurant. But when we sat down to eat, the waiter puts a big bowl of those, fried chips on the table, a little bit of salsa. And I see him and his wife just devour these bowl of chips. And I didn't say anything yet. And they're also sipping on like a frozen margarita. So they go through that first bowl of chips. They order a second bowl of chips, another frozen margarita. And they say, hey, guys, do you do this? Is this a regular thing? You do this all the time? I said, yeah. We always eat a couple of bowls of chips. I said, how often you come? We eat here 2-3 times a week. I said, guys, this is your problem. So you don't realize where your calories are coming from. Those chips, those are fried chips. You eat 2 bowls of chips plus those frozen margaritas are so high in sugar. But he said, Mike, this is just sugar. I said, but you still, there's so many calories. If you're eating here 2-3 times a week, you're probably consuming 5, 6, 7,000 extra calories per week that you're not even aware of. And then, after these 2 bowls of chips and a couple of margaritas, then you're eating your normal meal. I know you ordered they order like a chicken and steak, like quesadilla, not quesadilla, fajitas, which is pretty good, reasonably good, for a Mexican restaurant. It's not like they're eating refried beans and rice. It was still a relatively good main course. But I said, this is what I want you to do going forward. If you just stop eating the 2 bowls of chips, and then instead of having a frozen margarita, switch to a margarita straight up, we're just getting tequila or a little bit of lime, fresh lime juice, and just a little salt around the rim, you're going to eliminate 5, 6, 7,000 calories from your diet. You're going to start losing 2 pounds a week from that alone. And they said, really? I said, yes. I said, guys, you're just not sure where your calories are coming from. And then what I started doing with them is that I started counting calories for them. Like they would give me a little food log and then I would look it up in a book. It was a little more time consuming back then. But this is what I want you to do. If you think you're eating healthy and you're not losing weight, you're probably consuming too many calories. So I want you to start tracking your calories. I like to say everyone, at least one time in their life, for a week or 2 here or there, has to count calories, just so you know how many calories are in the foods that you're eating. Like, for example, I just had another client, we were going over his diet, And he was eating like a half a cup to a whole cup of cashews every day. He said, "My cashews are good food." A half a cup of cashews is 400 calories. He was eating 400 to 800 calories just in cashews every day. It's like an insane amount of calories, even though it was in my eating strategy of more of a higher fat type diet, which is popular, which I believe in now. So I think everyone, what I think you should do is use MyFitnessPal. I think that's a great app. It's a free app, is what I recommend to most of my clients. But there's so many other apps out there. You can use any one you want. But start tracking your calories for a couple of weeks and see where you're at. Like, there's 3 general ways you want to lose weight. Like, number 1 is food quality, right? You want to eat good, whole, natural foods. Most people would say if you're eating 2,000 calories of, like, cookies and cakes and processed food compared to 2,000 calories of a whole natural food diet, you're going to be thin and you're going to be healthy. You're not going to be malnourished. Most people, even though they're eating a lot of food, can actually be protein deficient, could be malnourished, and that's going to make you really hungry. So you want to eat a good quality food. Second thing is calories, like we're talking about in this video. You just can't eat too much. My general rule is when it comes to calories is that you do want to be in a calorie deficit a few days a week. So if you take your body weight and you times it by 10 or 11, so for example, let's say you're 200 pounds. Say you're eating on your calorie, like restricted days, say 2,000 to maybe 2,200 calories, I think that's ideal. But if you start tracking calories and you say, oh my God, I'm eating 3,000 to 4,000 calories, I thought I was eating half that, it's a real eye opener. So you have to keep an eye on calories. And the third way to lose weight is, I think, through food timing. You have to go through periods of being fasted and fed. When you're on an empty stomach, what are you doing? You're burning stored energy. You're burning body fat. You're burning stored carbohydrates. So you have to use these 3 things: food quality, calories, and actually food timing. So do this. As soon as this video is over, find an app that you like. MyFitnessPal is super easy, but there's so many other ones. Start tracking your calories for 2 weeks and just see where you're at, and then you can make adjustments. But if you want like a real structured program to follow, about a year ago, I put one of my personal training clients on like a 4-week low-carb intermittent fasting program. Why he wanted to do this? He wanted to lose 20 pounds. He went to the doctor, got back from the doctor, got the results from his blood work. His cholesterol went sky high. He gained weight. I put him on a 4-week low-carb intermittent fasting program. He did incredibly well. I made a video about the exact program and all the meal plans. So if you want a structured program to follow over the next month to lose weight and improve your health, check out this video. I think you're going to find it really helpful.